The tension in Genoa City had been building for days, but no one expected the storm that was about to erupt. Rumors spread quietly at first, whispers in hallways, uneasy glances in offices, and phone calls that ended abruptly when someone entered the room. At the center of it all was a shocking truth: Jack Abbott had disappeared. No one knew exactly where he was, no one except Victor Newman. Victor sat calmly in his office at Newman Enterprises, his expression unreadable as he stared out the tall glass windows overlooking the city. To anyone else, it might have looked like a man simply contemplating business. But inside, Victor was calculating every possible move. Across town, Phyllis Summers paced nervously in a private room, her mind racing. "You can't seriously think this is going to work," Daniel Romalotti Jr. said, watching his mother with concern. Phyllis stopped packing and turned toward him. "It will work," she insisted, though her voice betrayed a hint of doubt. "Victor wants something from me, and if I give it to him, Jack walks free." Summer Newman folded her arms. "Mom, you're talking about trading an entire company." Phyllis let out a frustrated sigh, "Not just any company, Chancellor." The word hung in the air like a loaded weapon. Victor had made his position clear. If Phyllis wanted Jack back, she would have to give him something big, something valuable enough to satisfy the powerful Newman patriarch. Phyllis had come up with a risky solution. She would offer Chancellor in exchange for Jack Abbott, along with Lily Winters and her twins, Charlie and Maddie Ashby, who were also caught up in the chaos. But Victor Newman was not a man who settled for simple deals. Back at the Abbott mansion, Diane Jenkins Abbott was reaching the end of her patience. She slammed a glass onto the table, the sharp sound echoing through the room. "This is all Philly's fault," Diane shouted. Kyle Abbott tried to calm his mother. "We don't know that for sure." "Oh, I know," Diane snapped. "Every time there's chaos in this town, Philly's is somewhere in the middle of it." Billy Abbott leaned against the wall, arms crossed, watching the argument unfold. "Blaming Philly's isn't going to bring Jack back," Billy said. "We need to focus on finding him." Diane turned to him, her eyes blazing with fury. "You think I don't know that, but I swear if she's responsible for even part of this." She didn't finish the sentence, she didn't need to. The anger radiating from her made it clear what she was thinking. Kyle stepped forward. "We found something earlier, a clue." Billy straightened. "What kind of clue?" Kyle placed a small piece of paper on the table. It was a receipt from a gas station outside Genoa City. "It was in Jack's car," Kyle explained. "Someone filled up there shortly before he disappeared." Billy studied it, "So whoever took him might have passed through there." "Exactly," Kyle said. "It's the first real lead we've had." Diane's anger shifted into determination. "Then we follow it." Meanwhile, Victor Newman was preparing for his next move. He met Phyllis in a private room, his dark eyes studying her carefully. "You wanted to talk," Victor said calmly. Phyllis forced herself to remain confident. "Let's stop playing games, you have Jack." Victor said nothing, but the slight curve of his lips told her she was right. "Here's my offer," Phyllis continued. "You give me Jack Abbott, Lily Winters, and her twins. In return, you get Chancellor." Victor leaned back in his chair. "That's quite an offer," he admitted. Phyllis waited. But Victor wasn't finished. "However," he added slowly, "it's not enough." Phyllis felt a jolt of anger. "Not enough, Chancellor is a massive company." Victor's gaze hardened. "If you want Jack Abbott to walk free," he said, "I might also require Newman Enterprises." Phyllis stared at him in disbelief. "You're insane," she said. Victor's expression remained perfectly calm. "I'm negotiating." Phyllis shook her head immediately. "No way, that's not happening." Victor stood up slowly. "Then perhaps Jack will remain exactly where he is." Phyllis clenched her fists. The battle between them had only just begun. Elsewhere, Nikki Newman was beginning to notice that something wasn't right. Victor had been distant lately, secretive. And Nikki knew her husband well enough to recognize the signs. She walked into his office later that evening and closed the door behind her. "Victor," she said firmly, "what have you done?" Victor looked up from his desk. "I'm not sure what you mean." Nikki stepped closer. "Don't lie to me." Her voice trembled with anger. "I know you're hiding something." Victor sighed quietly. "Nicholas once said you were the most perceptive woman in Genoa City," he said. "Stop deflecting," Nikki snapped. "Did you take Jack?" The silence that followed confirmed her worst fear. Nikki's eyes widened in shock. "You kidnapped him," she demanded. Victor stood up slowly. "I did what was necessary." Necessary, Nikki repeated in disbelief. Victor, have you lost your mind? Victor's voice hardened. Our family business was stolen from us. I am simply taking it back. Nikki shook her head. This isn't the way. Victor stepped closer. Trust me, he said quietly, I know what I'm doing. But Nikki wasn't convinced. For the first time in years, their marriage felt dangerously close to breaking. Far away from Genoa City, Jack Abbott sat in a dimly lit room. His hands were tied to a chair. Across from him stood Patty Williams, smiling in a way that made Jack uneasy. Well, Patty said cheerfully, look who finally woke up. Jack glared at her. You're working with Victor now. Patty tilted her head. Let's just say I'm helping with a little arrangement. Jack knew this situation was far from over. And somewhere deep down, he suspected the worst was still coming. Morning arrived in Genoa City with tension hanging thick in the air. News of Jack Abbott's disappearance had begun spreading through quiet circles, though no one had the full truth yet. The people closest to him were already feeling the pressure of time running out. At the Abbott mansion, Diane Jenkins Abbott barely slept the night before. Her anger had only grown stronger. She stood near the window when Kyle Abbott walked into the room. You've been up all night again, haven't you? Kyle asked gently. Diane didn't turn around. I can't sleep while your father is out there somewhere, she replied. God knows what he's going through. Kyle stepped closer. We're going to find him. Diane turned sharply, and what if we do? Kyle hesitated. Billy Abbott entered at that moment holding his phones. I may have something, Billy said. Diane's eyes snapped toward him. What is it? Billy held up the phone. The gas station receipt Kyle found. I made a few calls. And Diane demanded. There's security footage, Billy said. Not great quality, but it shows a car leaving around the time Jack disappeared. Kyle leaned forward. Can we see the license plate? Billy shook his head. Too blurry, but we did catch something else. What? Diane asked impatiently. Billy paused. The driver wasn't Victor. Diane frowned. Then who? Billy looked uneasy. Patty Williams. Across town, Phyllis Summers was feeling the pressure building around her. Daniel Romalotti Jr. stood in front of her, clearly frustrated. Mom, this is getting out of control. Phyllis rubbed her temples. I know. No, I don't think you do, Daniel replied. Victor Newman kidnapped Jack Abbott, and you're negotiating with him like it's some kind of business deal. Summer Newman stepped in carefully. We're worried about you. Phyllis looked at both of them. You think I want this? She asked quietly. I'm trying to save Jack. But Victor playing you, Daniel said. Phyllis didn't answer. Deep down, she knew he might be right. At Newman Enterprises, Nikki Newman stormed into Victor's office again. Her patience was gone. Tell me where Jack is, she demanded. Victor looked up calmly. I already told you. Don't you dare repeat that nonsense about trusting you, Nikki snapped. Victor stood slowly. This is bigger than Jack Abbott, he said. Nikki laughed bitterly. You kidnapped a man to win a business battle. Victor's voice grew colder. I am protecting my family. By destroying someone else, Nikki fired back. For a long moment, they simply stared at each other. Their marriage had survived countless battles, but this felt different. Finally, Nikki spoke again, her voice softer but filled with pain. If anything happens to Jack. She couldn't finish the sentence. Victor looked away for the first time. Meanwhile, in a remote cabin miles away, Jack Abbott was trying to stay calm. Patty Williams paced around the room excitedly. You know, she said cheerfully, this whole situation is kind of thrilling. Jack glared at her. You kidnapped me. Patty shrugged. Technically, Victor arranged it. That doesn't make it better. Patty stopped packing and leaned closer. Oh, but it does, she whispered, because Victor always wins. Jack studied her carefully. You're being used, he said. Patty's smile faded slightly. No, she replied quickly. Victor promised everything will work out. Jack sighed. I've known Victor Newman for decades. Trust me, Patty, when the deal is done, he won't need you anymore. The words lingered in the air. Patty's expression shifted just enough to reveal doubt. Back in Genoa City, Victoria Newman was defending her father. She stood in the living room of the Newman Ranch with Billy Abbott and Nate Hastings. You're both overreacting, Victoria insisted. Billy stared at her in disbelief. Your father kidnapped my brother. Victoria crossed her arms. My father is fighting to reclaim what belongs to our family. That's not justification, Nate said carefully. Victoria shook her head. You don't understand how business works at this level. Billy stepped forward angrily. No, I understand exactly how Victor works. Victoria's voice hardened. He built an empire, and sometimes empires require difficult decisions. Billy laughed bitterly. That might be the most Victor Newman thing I've ever heard. Elsewhere, Lily Winters was finally reunited with her twins. Charlie and Maddie Ashby rushed into her arms the moment they saw her. Mom, Maddie cried. Lily hugged them tightly, tears forming in her eyes. You're safe, she whispered. Kane Ashby stood nearby watching the emotional reunion. Relief washed over him. When Lily looked up at him, they shared a long moment of silence. Then Kane stepped forward. I don't care what happened, he said softly. You're all safe, that's what matters. Without warning, he pulled Lily into a tight embrace. For the first time in weeks, she allowed herself to relax. Kane pulled back slightly and kissed her. Lily looked surprised but didn't pull away. Perhaps their fractured relationship still had a chance. Meanwhile, another mystery was unfolding. At Crimson Lights, Sharon Newman sat with Nick Newman, both looking concerned. Sienna Bacall had just delivered troubling news. I heard something about Matt Clark, Sienna explained. Someone spotted him in Las Vegas. Nick leaned forward. You're sure? Sienna nodded. That's what I was told. Sharon exchanged a glance with Nick. This could be the lead we've been waiting for, she said. Nick immediately reached for his phone. There's someone who can help us track him. Sharon raised an eyebrow. Adam. Nick nodded. He still has contacts from his less legal days. Later that evening, Adam Newman listened carefully as Nick explained the situation. So you want me to track a fugitive in Vegas, Adam said. Nick crossed his arms. Can you do it? Adam smirked slightly. I probably know people who can. Sharon looked hopeful. If Matt Clark really is there, we need to find him before he disappears again. Adam nodded slowly. I'll make some calls. But far away in Las Vegas, Matt Clark sat in a dim casino bar watching the news. A slow smile spread across his face. They're looking for me, he muttered. He finished his drink calmly. Good. Matt Clark had plenty of tricks left to play. And back in Genoa City, Victor Newman was preparing for the final phase of his plan. He stared out the window once again. Soon the deals would be made. The secrets would be exposed. And someone would lose everything.